Hey, what's up? This is your girl Diamond. This is a very interesting, deep subject that I want to discuss. So, I'm going to discuss it. Okay. There is a male to female transsexual in prison. He is in prison for killing his wife. In prison, he starts to live his life as a woman, and he has tried to castrate himself and commit suicide while incarcerated in an all-male prison in Norfolk. The only treatment for his disorder is sex change. Now, in the Eighth Amendment, you have a right to adequate medical care. That is your right, whether you're a prisoner or outside of prison, wherever you are. The Eighth Amendment says you have a right to adequate medical care. A federal court judge, let me read it. A federal court judge on Tuesday ordered Massachusetts officials to provide a sex change reassignment surgery for a transsexual prison inmate, after determining that it was the only adequate treatment for the inmate's mental illness. So the judge deemed that paying for this person's sex change is adequate treatment for his gender identity disorder. Okay. So, in layman's terms, there is a murderer in the prison that the court has ruled that the government is paying for her pussy while she's in prison. Now, this is not setting, based off how the judge is ruling, this is not setting any precedent. Prisoners have been getting funded. Their surgeries and their treatment for certain things, they have been getting funded by taxpayers for a long time. When a person has cancer, when a person has whatever kind of illness, because of the Eighth Amendment, taxpayers have been paying for these people's treatments. So this is not the first time some treatment has been paid for. So I don't want you guys to think that, this is something special. This is something that has been happening forever. United States is kind of behind on this. This ruling is kind of progressive, I guess you could say, because places like Canada, even some Middle Eastern countries, the government pays for sex changes. The government pays for it because they deem it as treatment for gender identity disorder. So the government pays for it in other countries. So this is not new at all. Now let me tell you my opinion on this. I think that this is a disgusting misuse of taxpayers' dollars. That's my official stance on it. Now, I have some other statements that I need to make on it. I am a transgender woman. I understand the full scope of transsexualism, being transgendered, gender identity disorder, gender dysphoria, all that kind of good stuff that is involved in this life. So I understand it. But in my humble opinion, I feel certain liberties are forfeited when you become a criminal. This man killed his wife, this woman. Let me be respectful, because if she's officially trans, I'm going to be respectful. This woman, at the time that, prior to his transition, when she was a he and married to his wife, he killed his wife, almost decapitated her, when he disposed of the body, went to a state dinner as if it didn't happen to cover it up, to, like this was his alibi. When you do something as criminal and seriously criminal like that, I feel you forfeit your right to have such elective surgeries like a sex change. That's my personal opinion. To me, I feel the taxpayers' dollars should be spent, if a person is in prison, on life or death medical needs. Life or death. If a person has cancer and they need treatment to stay alive, I feel like we should pay for it. I do, because we're putting them in prison. So that's the responsibility we're taking over. I personally do not feel that being transgendered is a disorder. I don't feel that it is a mental disorder. I don't feel that, I just don't agree with that. Yes, I know that for a long time it has been considered a mental disorder by the DSM. And when I say DSM, I mean the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, which is a manual that it kind of sets the standard for mental disorders in the psychiatric field. It is published every year by, not every year, but it's published by the American Psychiatric Association. And it has been deemed, a mental disorder, but there has been movements and steps to try to get this taken out. So I don't feel like it's a mental disorder. To me, if you are a person who is, this is my personal opinion, if you are a person that is willing to risk your life and castrate yourself and take matters into your own hands to commit suicide or try to cut your genitalia off, which can be dangerous towards your life, I feel personally that you have mental issues outside of your gender, to me. Because I feel I am totally against suicide, because I feel it goes against nature. I feel that the first law of any species is to survive and continue and live. So when you do something that goes against that, I think that's a mental problem that is outside of gender. Anyway. So I don't feel that it is life or death. Okay? And so I don't feel, because you will live, if you don't get a sex change surgery, you will live. You will live your life in prison. You will live. You won't die if you don't get a sex change. I don't feel it's appropriate for taxpayer to be paying for a criminal's elective, non-life or death surgery. I just don't. Now let me play devil's advocate for a minute. Okay? That's my official stance. I don't agree with it. Taxpayers' money has gone to, especially in this particular political environment, taxpayers' money has gone to so many unnecessary things that if I had to choose, I would much rather the taxpayers' money that is going to be wasted on getting one of my sisters her pussy, than on some of the bullshit that I've seen it wasted on. That's just keeping it 100% real. I feel like, if you're going to waste tax money anyway, then hey, get her pussy. The judge said on a legal standpoint, we have deemed this a mental disorder. So treatment for this mental disorder is a sex change. The 8th Amendment says that, we have to give people, adequate medical care. So I understand why the judge ruled how he ruled. Do you feel what I'm saying? It's logical. It makes sense. It's not appropriate to me, but it's logical and it makes sense. So that's why it's such mixed feelings. Actually, it's not mixed. It's a little bit more towards the side of, no, this is inappropriate for me. But I understand why the judge ruled the way he did, because he says, look, we're supposed to give adequate treatment to, our inmates and our people. And because this is deemed adequate treatment for this, particular disorder, then hey, we're supposed to pay for it. But like I said, my opinion is it's inappropriate when you become a criminal and you do something as heinous as decapitating or coming close to decapitating your wife. You have forfeited your rights Simple as that. You have. So, and I feel it's inappropriate for taxpayers to have to pay for your cosmetic, at this point, surgery. Anyway, this is your girl Diamond. I want you all to tell me what you think, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.